Venus Friday. So let's talk about what's happening with the divine feminine, our divine feminine planet, Venus, and our divine feminine within and without. And also just astrologically over this week. And then I'll throw in some astro aromatherapy suggestions to support us with the energy at the end. Okay, so first off, today, on Friday, Venus Fridays, the sun is moving into Taurus. Yay, so exciting, right? Taurus, the fixed sign, when we're fixed into the season of spring in the northern hemisphere or fall in the southern hemisphere, right? We're coming towards that cross quarter time, the exact middle point between the March equinox and the June solstice, right, is when the sun reaches 15 degrees of Taurus, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. We'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. I'm going to share my screen and we are going to look at some of this in the amazing stellarium.org astronomy software. Okay, so let's see. So where am I? I've got this. I'm recording it today on the 18th, and I'm going to bring up the time. We're just going to move forward to tomorrow and go back to 8 a.m. is when the moment the sun moves into Taurus. Sorry, just having a moment there. I'm going to put this 0. I'm going to stop the timer and move this time out of our way. Okay, so here we are, right? So here's how it will look, because the sun will be up and we can't see. So we're going to turn the sun off and we're going to zero in, kind of move over here. So here's the horizon line. I'll turn the earth, the ground on so we can kind of keep track of that. Here's what's rising, the rising sign. Here is what's setting, the descendant. Here's the midheaven, the MC of this current chart, right? So this is the astrology chart of the moment when the sun moves into Taurus. So let's move it over here. And let's just look and see where that is in the sky, right? The sun is moving out of the fishes towards the ram, not into the bull, which I'll turn the ground back off so we can see here. That's where Uranus and Jupiter are, which we're going to talk about next. So here's just a good reminder, right? So tropical Western astrology is focused on the planets and the signs movements around the seasons, right? So when the sun moved into Aries, that's when we had the March equinox, right? When the sun reaches right here, over here on the hand of Orion, that is the 0 Cancer point at galactic edge, where we look out of our galaxy into the rest of the universe. That's where the June solstice will occur, when the sun reaches here. And you can see it's between the bull and the twins, right? So not in the crab. So just pointing out that constellations like the fish, aka Pisces, or the ram, aka Aries, are not the same thing as Pisces and Aries, the signs, right? We're always talking about this, but we're going to just bring it in again today. So here is where the sun moves into Taurus. We are listening to this on Friday morning, or whenever after Friday morning when I post it. And so here is the sun has entered Taurus, which is exciting, right? And here's the backdrop to it. And then notice today as well, Venus and Mercury, we'll close in a little bit, are exactly conjunct on this same day that the sun has moved into Taurus. So we're getting, and this is in Aries, and this is the fish constellation, right? Just reiterating that point. But let's talk about, so sun moving into Taurus. For us here in the Northern Hemisphere, it's spring where I live. The bulbs are coming up. They get snowed on. They're so strong. These like tulips and daffodils, right? They seem so delicate, but they get like snowed on and just keep on trucking where I am, right? Which is just amazing to me, the strength and the resilience that we see in spring, right? The sun's coming back. The days are getting longer. Even though I'm still having snowstorms sometimes, there's also been like a day where it was 70 degrees, which is pretty warm for this time. But, you can feel, the spring and the fall. It's like the time of this fluctuations between things. But Taurus is the sign that really helps us remember to notice what's happening on the ground, be present, be embodied, enjoy that, whether the leaves are turning or the bulbs are coming up. It's like just being and sitting like with the earth and enjoying the sound of the birds and the wind through the trees and the new blooms or the changing colors of the leaves if you're in the southern hemisphere, right? It's that time of that just being present, being in the body and grounding, which I think sounds really great, especially with everything else that we're talking about in a moment and everything that's just happening in the world, right? Mercury and Venus coming together, our divine feminine meeting with the mind, consciousness, awareness, right? Becoming more conscious of that Aries energy of the feminine, right? Supporting the feminine in her fiery, warrioress, protector, Wonder Woman energy, right? With our conscious minds, allowing the feminine to have her fullest expression, as well as being more conscious of the unhealthy aspects of Aries, which is like fighting just to fight for no reason, which is what we see a lot happening in the world right now. And we're going to come exactly to that as we move over. So here we are in the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, right? In Taurus, this is happening, right? The exact conjunction is tomorrow, which there's this like bizarro emphasis on like, these things happen at this like exact minute, but these are like huge celestial bodies. So we're there and we're going to be there beyond Sunday as well, right? These things do not quickly come into conjunction and then separate, right? It's a very slow transition. So we are in this Uranus-Jupiter conjunction, and I definitely feel like I can feel it. And it's in Taurus, right? So Jupiter is the big expanser, this gaseous planet. It just makes bigger whatever it touches. And in this case, it's Uranus, our planet of revolution and change and innovation and what is the word? I was writing about it in my column. I write an astrology column for the Aspen Daily News, and I've forgotten the word. It was such a great word. Oh, well, it's gone. So anyways, here we have this, and they're in Taurus. And so this is the first time that these two planets have come together in Taurus since 1941, right? Since World War II. And that scares me a little, especially looking at what's happening in the world, right? 1941, we're in the thick of World War II, around the Holocaust, and here we are in 2024, and we're seeing all those similar themes coming up, right? The rampant anti-Semitism that is just like sweeping the world right now, I find so interesting. Right? Well, interesting is not the word. I would say I find so like disturbing, right? Like, why do we want to be promoting prejudice against anyone in the world? And when we're talking about Venus and the divine feminine, it's really interesting to me to see like the level of support for Iran right now from these same themes, right? And I was thinking, I was like, wow, in Iran, it's the legal marrying age for your daughter is 13 years old, but you can petition to marry her younger. And I was like, wow, thinking of the divine feminine, it's like, I don't know, how is it that we want to be supporting a regime that is so violently abusive to women, right? When we're thinking of the divine feminine. So anyways, it's just an interesting thing, this Uranus Jupiter coming together. And like Taurus to me is not a polarizing sign, and it's not a sign of like aggression. There's a lot in Aries right now, which the shadowy side of Aries is a lot of intense aggression and fighting. But Taurus is not like that. But the shadow or the unhealthy side of Taurus is like actively not wanting to ground or embody, right? And in the world, as things are getting crazier and crazier, right? We're so uncomfortable with our shadow side that we'll do anything to distract ourselves out of it, right? We're scrolling all the time. That gets us like jacked up about whatever side of the aisle we're on. And then it's like we can take the angst that we feel and we have this thing to push it out against. But one, it's often extremely uninformed, right? There's not a lot of research going on into what is really going on or the history. I was looking at the history of the Middle East recently and just researching it. And it was like, oh my gosh. I mean, that's just not even something you can wrap your mind around. Like the level of all of the things that have happened for thousands of years is pretty mind-boggling. So it's complicated to say the least. So anyways, it's like Taurus, it's like we don't want to be in our body and we're distracting ourselves and we're not dealing with our shadowy sides of things. And it's just coming out sideways all over the place because we don't want to deal with the pain and the angst that we have. So we're inflicting it on others, which is an intense thing to do. So check out this Uranus-Jupiter conjunction near the Pleiades, the divine feminine cluster of stars, right? So just bringing that in, I just feel like, gosh, we just need more and more of this divine feminine energy to come into its power and like counterbalance the unhealthy aspects of this masculine energy and bring the divine masculine into its healthiest expression so we can like come into more unity and connection together, right? So here, you know, spanning back out a little bit more, moving over, right? We've just come off of this like Mars Saturn conjunction, Pisces, right? Just like we're trying to let the feminine have her warrior, more fiery aspect. We want Mars to be able to have the divine masculine to have its healer, Pisces, connected to spirit aspect as well. Saturn in the real world where we're living, right? Bringing the balance and letting the masculine and the feminine have the full expression of each of those archetypes, right? Because some of us have Mars in Pisces or Cancer or Venus in Aries, right? We want to be able to hold up and have the healthiest expressions of the masculine and the feminine available to us. Okay, so enough about all of that. Let's span out a little bit more, come back to our horizon line. I'm actually going to kind of move this up. So the yellow line is the ecliptic, the path that the sun takes over the course of the day, right? The year, both, right? All of the above. But that's the chart, right? If we switch over, and I'll just do this quickly and then come back to an actual chart of the sky, here we see this is that yellow line, the ecliptic going around the edge where I am, right? Look at all this stuff in Aries, right? Here's Venus and Mercury coming into the conjunction. This is set up for the time where I'm at right now, recording this, which is on Thursday. And here is that Jupiter Uranus coming into this conjunction, right? So going back over to stellarium.org, which is a free software on your computer, highly recommend. We're just going to advance things. I'm going to move the time down over here so it's out of our way. And we'll go into Tuesday. So that's Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And here we have the full moon in Scorpio, right? The sun and the moon are opposite each other in Scorpio. in this priestess constellation, which I'd have to advance it a little bit, but anyways, yeah, sorry, I don't want to take up time to do all that, but it's going to move a little bit more towards the scales a little bit here, but that will be the opposition. The sun and the moon are actually in a full moon in Scorpio, and it's square Pluto, right? So Scorpio and Pluto are the resonant energies with each other. And so there's just more opportunity with this full moon, with all of this intense energy going on, to like stop and take that like deep scuba dive into like our hurt places and the pain. It's like the only thing that's going to really take us out of all of this warring and all of this prejudice against people in the world, and try and come into a more healed place, first within ourselves and then out in the world. And that's what Pluto helps us do. And that's a big part of what Scorpio can really help us do in its like healthy, highest vibrational aspects as well. And then finally on Thursday, Mercury is going to station direct. So it has been, I'll move that forward on here too, just because that's where we're at, right? Thursday, just making sure I got all my dates right here, is the 25th. And we have, oh yeah, I guess this was actually the place of the, anyways, never mind. On the 25th, Mercury stations direct over here, right? In Aries. So here it is again in that Fishes constellation. So this starts a new Mercury cycle for us, right? For these coming few months, Mercury will move through other signs besides Aries, but it is like the overarching kind of like tone of this cycle. So that's interesting, more of that like fiery aspect of Aries, where there's an opportunity for us to step into that protection mode, like from my strength and my empowerment, I stand in protection of the community, which is for everyone, right? It's not like I'm just protecting these people and you are like all the bad people, right? It's like, how do we protect and come into service for the community, as opposed to that unhealthy aspect, which is just more fighting. I'm right, you're wrong, right? That kind of a place. So let's shift gears here. And was there anything else I wanted to say? Oh, yes. No, that's it. Oh, I did. I'm kind of jumping around. Sorry, bear with me on this one. I wasn't sure if I was going to use the software or not, so I'm kind of like playing through with it. But on Sunday also, Venus and Chiron are coming into a conjunction. So this is before the day before the full moon and before Mercury goes direct. So again, Chiron, healing our wounds with the feminine, right? Like I think the feminine, empowering the feminine is like one of the most important things that we can do in the world right now and within ourselves. And a big part of that is like doing our healing work, so we can empower the feminine, we can feel our feelings, we can go into the yin side, right? The dark, all of that. And then that is what I feel so strongly can really help turn things around in our world, if only we would step into the opportunities that so much of the astrology is providing for us. I'll dive more into this on my column that comes out on Sunday. And if you follow me on social media or on my website, on my blog, vlog, or my emails, I'll send that out as well. And I'll dive into more of all of these aspects. But lastly, before we go today, let's talk about some aromatherapy plant medicine that help us with all of this energy, right? So the first thing I want to talk about is cypress. So it's like heaven, right? Just all of the evergreen trees. They smell so different. They taste so different. Like, I just always like to, there's a sweetness to this. of cypress. Cypress is the trees that often line cemeteries. And so cypress is an amazing essence to help us deal with our grief and our pain and our shadow, right? Because it helps hold us in that healing space. It helps hold us with our grief and supports us. And it's grounding, right? So it's a great one that we can use with this Taurus energy, but also Pisces and the shadow side of Aries, right? All of this kind of energy that's going to help us embody. So we're stepping into the healthier sides of Taurus, but also allowing us to feel our grief and be with our hurts and wounds and not start scrolling or looking for that adrenaline angst fix outside of ourselves to dispel the energy, which really does nothing to heal the wounds, right? And then the other one I want to talk about with like all this Aries, and there's so much like passion and fiery stuff happening in the world right now, and people are so intensely connected to like their side and what they think, regardless of the ignorance or the lack of research or checking out or understanding, even on a minute level, like what are the different things that are actually happening in the world. I want to talk about corn mint. So refreshing, immediately uplifting, right? Oh, I feel it in my lungs, like an opening. When we have all this fiery, intense energy, it can need some cooling at times. And the mints are great for that, like peppermint, spearmint. Spearmint's a little bit more warm and heating than like peppermint, but corn mint is like the most cooling of them all. And this is this like beautiful like periwinkle blue flower that grows native here in Colorado where I live. But using corn mint can really help like cool things down in the body. So if you're feeling that over fire, passionate place that's kind of run amok rather than it's really purposeful or helpful, or we're using our energy to like bring others down or attack others, using mint, like corn mint, can really help soothe and calm the nervous system, right? Uranus is related to the nervous system, right? You can feel a lot of like anxiety and intensity around this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. And corn mint can help. It's also really nice to help. It like calms and soothes the digestive system. So if you're having kind of any kind of digestive issues, corn mint can really just help calm the whole body down. So hopefully when I see you next week, fingers crossed, I'm not going to be putting any bets on it. We can have some cooling, right? As the sun moves a little more into Taurus, we get a little bit of space and separation as Jupiter starts to move past Uranus, but it seems like we're just really intent on moving into the unhealthier aspects of all these amazing astrological opportunities, right? Venus moving into the underworld, which Kaylin and I at Venus Alchemy will be offering a free teaching about the Venus cycle, Venus moving into the underworld and the opportunity that that provides for us on March 17th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. I'll put the link below or wherever you're watching and seeing this, as well as if you want more astrological aromatherapy suggestions, I have a freebie on my website, which I can put the link below, or you can find on my homepage at SheridanSemple.com. And I just wish you well with like feeling the feels and like calming, soothing yourself, and letting that tree essence of cypress like help us process our grief so we can move into a higher vibration. All right, blessings on your week.